So my dad had been out in Spain now for about 2 years. He left when I was 15. My brother was 17. I then decided to move out to Spain when I was 18 with a couple of my mates. Shortly after my mum died, we were 15, we was at school. I'm not going to go into this story, this is a whole nother story, but this was the reason to make me leave England for Spain. One of my best mates, Barry, got stabbed multiple times all around his body, and one of the stab wounds was like very close to his artery, his heart. He got stabbed up into his stomach. So I'm 18 now, I've had enough of England, and I decided to make the move over. Me and two of my mates jumped in my Citroen Silver Saxo, and we never stopped driving until we hit Alicante. My dad had his own place of his bird, Claire. My dad's mum, she also lived out in Spain in Benissa. Well, my old man helped us rent a place in Altair. So that's where we stayed, which was about 30-40 minutes away from Benissa, very close to Benidorm. So me and my two mates, through the summer, amazing time, and we started painting villas, man, or just tried to get money however we could, hustling, but everything was legit at this time. When it gets to the winter in Spain, the money dries up, man. Everybody just ends up just pissing off. So in the end, I was left there on my own. My two mates had gone back, and I wanted to stay, but I had no money. So I decided to go and see my dad, see what he could do, if he could help me at all. I was very upset at the time, I remember that. I was very depressed, smoking a lot of weed, was sniffing a lot of gear. Party life, mate. So anyway, the two boys had gone back. I made my way over to my dad's house. My dad had a beautiful villa, something out of like fucking Scarface, you know what I mean? He had his office at the top of the Ben Carly's, and one day I turned up at his office. It was like a navy dark blue long wheelbase Transit sat parked outside his office. Went into his office. He was there with his mate, his plumber mate called Kev. Now Kev was a legitimate man with a nice family. Weren't about no bad business at all. He was just a plumber, living his life, providing for his family. I'm not slating my dad here, but my dad knew that I had no money and I was in quite a vulnerable position, and he knew that I was loyal to him, you know. He said, go and open the back of that Transit. So I walk over to the Transit, open one door, open the other, and I'm like, what the fuck? I look at my dad, and my dad's like, my dad didn't give a fuck, man. He saw this as a game. He saw this as entertainment. He didn't take it serious at all. I was in shock what I was seeing. There was 1 ton of hash all spread along the floor of this long wheelbase Transit, and it was in 30-kilo bales. Anybody who knows the hash game, you used to get 9 bars, what about that big, like a bar of soap. There were 30-key bales, they're real heavy, wrapped in like tarpaulin, and Essian was wrapped around the outer case of it to stop them like freezing. So this was filled, a ton's worth of 30-key bales. And I looked at me old man, he goes, do you want to earn yourself some money? And I looked at him and I was like, how much? I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I never knew he was into any of this. I thought he just sold up everything and he was living his life comfortably out in Spain. So I'm just trying to take it all in and process what I'm just seeing and what my dad's actually into here. And I've never seen that amount of gear in my life. Out of the blue, this big fuck off geezer comes walking up the driveway called Max. He was about 16, 18 stone, bald head, tattoos all over him, and a big fuck off curb chain he had on. He introduced himself, he'd heard a lot about me from me old man, and he realised he was briefing me over what is about to take place. So he then started explaining the procedure of getting it from A to B, how this is all going to work, and I was just like taking it in but not taking it in. It was all a very surreal moment of what I can't even describe to you. So Max began to explain to me what's going to happen, and he explained ghosting. You have a driver in front a click, a kilometre, and you have a driver behind a kilometre. The matey in front will go off, drive straight off. He will get off at the toll that we're coming off. He will check it to see that there's no police barricades there. As soon as that's good, he will then get back on the A7, drive back up the motorway, get off the motorway, come back on, and then he's behind you, and it swaps around like that. And that is how ghosting works. So any police, any motorbikes that come up behind you, your job is strictly to crash the car and take the heat off the consignment going down. Basically, in Spain, when you come off at the tolls, you have roadblocks. That is where the Guardia Civil always do stop checks. So you have to be really on the ball. So I had to get this consignment all the way from Benissa to a place called La Nucia, which was in the back end of Altair, near Benidorm, and it was about a half-hour drive, and it was a lot of back roads and 2 junctions to move down the A7. You can imagine, as soon as I jumped in this wagon, that was it. I was like, okay, I'm in this now. There's no backing out. I just got to go and trust what these geezers have just told me is gonna work out fine. But my dad has put me in with these people, so I trust my dad if anything. I get into the van, drive it out my dad's gate, and Max pulls off, ghosting behind me. And from that day, moving forward is where my life changed forever.